Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be making Kiwi Ginger Jam. It's a delicious jam. It's really easy, and I'm going to show you the steps. All right, one of the first steps you want to do is you want to make sure you wash everything. I just washed this with hot water and soap and rinsed it out really good. I put my jars in. I had cleaned my jars in the dishwasher the night before, so they were all sanitized and ready to go. I'm going to put the lid on this, make sure your lids and bands and all your utensils are cleaned and washed. And I'm going to wash this and get some water put in this for my bands and lids. Make sure everything's sanitized first. Alright, here's what you're going to need for the Kiwi Ginger Jam. Kiwis, and I'm going to need 4.5 cups of these. So once I peel them, dice them, and crush them, I need 4.5 cups. I have more if I need it over there. Lemon juice, granulated sugar, a box of pectin. I have crystallized ginger that I got. I think I got this from Kroger. You can find it online also. And then the recipe, which I will put in the description. Now the Ball Blue Book has one in here, but it's not with the ginger, and I prefer the one with the ginger. And I found the one with the ginger. I think it was off a canning site, but I have tried this one and it is tested and it works just fine and it's delicious. So here's everything you'll need for your Kiwi Ginger. Remember your jars, I moved it over. Don't scrape your top if you have a flat top. I have these in bowls because I'm going to pour the hot water that I'm going to boil over it. I'm going to start this on medium to low and just let it slowly come up to a light simmer while I'm working on dicing everything up. All right, here's the measurements you're going to need of everything. I have 7 cups of sugar. Now remember, they have low sugar recipes for almost everything, and you would use the pink box instead of the regular one because the pink one is low sugar. You need 1/4 cup lemon juice, and then you need 1 tablespoon. I do a heaping tablespoon of ginger because I really like it, and I'm going to cut that up in a second. And then of course 4.5 cups of kiwis. So I'm going to start on my ginger. Oh, this ginger smells great. So you're just gonna chop it up pretty fine. You don't want any really big chunks. That should be good. And put it to the side. I'm going to put it in here, and then I'm going to start working on taking the skin off my kiwis. So I'm going to peel them, dice them, and then I'm going to crush them in my pot. Alright, this is now I'm going to peel mine. You don't have to do it this way. It's just how I'm going to do it. It's easier for me. I've not tried to use a peeler on this. This way just works better for me. Do whatever works better. Just remember to peel them all really good and wash them off if you have to, if you have those little hairs everywhere. The only bad thing about kiwi is the little hairs. And then I'm going to cut them in slices. And then I'm going to cut those up and stick them in my pot. Alright, I've made it to 4.5 cups. It's almost 5, but it's fine. Remember, I have my sugar, my lemon juice, and my crystallized ginger chopped up. And I'm going to put it in here. Remember, For anyone who's new, I have a pot just for jams. This is not necessary. I just do it so no residue from anything else ever gets in my jams. But I'm going to pour my kiwi in there. Let's get the rest. I hate when stuff is left in there. There we go. And I'm going to start cooking this on medium. And remember, once I start this, we're going to make turn up the canner, which I turned it to about 6. I'll put it about 6 or 7. And then I started my water on low, have it all ready. So when you're ready to start canning, you don't have to worry about anything. And then all this is ready too. So I'm going to get this started and put it on low. Okay, I put it on low. We're going to mix in the lemon juice, crystallized ginger, and I'm going to put in my pectin. Remember, whatever pectin you have will work. Ball makes some, Sure-Gel makes some. There's off-brands, whatever works. Now we're going to stir this in. Switch hands. And mix this up really good. Now I have it on low for me just mixing it in right now, but I'm going to put it on high here in a second. Make sure your pectin is mixed in really good. I got it mixed in. I put it on 8 to 9, and I'm just going to keep moving these higher and higher because I want this to be done at the same time. And it's pretty warm, but I want it to start boiling in here. So we're going to get this to come to a boil, and once it comes to a boil, we are going to add all the sugar at once. Remember, this is 7 cups of sugar. And remember, if you're following a different recipe for the low sugar, you're going to have a different amount, and you're going to use a different box of pectin. But for this one, this is just the standard. We're going to get this to come to a boil. Remember, I put a ton of jars in here because I know what the recipe says, that you only need a certain amount of jars. That's not always true. I don't know why. I can put the same amount in each time, just like on my peach jam video. Sometimes you'll get more, sometimes you'll get less. So it's better to be safe than sorry and have enough jars in there just in case you have more. So we're going to let this come to a boil. Alright, starting to come to boil, so I'm going to start crushing these. I wait until it cooks just a bit. It works easier, or you could crush them beforehand. It's not a big deal. It's very pretty green. Love kiwis. Now I'm not scraping the bottom of my pan. I'm just going up and down. I don't want to ruin my pan. Remember to stay with your jam and don't leave it. Because if you leave it, this will scorch on the bottom. And every time you crush it, you want to crush it some more to the consistency you like. Just stir it around really good and then crush it up a little bit more. I might crush it just a tiny bit more and then leave it and let it boil. Alright, it's to a boil now. Had to turn it up a little bit more. And I know it's a lot of sugar, I agree. That's what the recipe calls for. So add it all at once and stir it in. The sugar will start melting. Stir it up really good. Let me switch hands. Scrape down the sides. And then just keep stirring. You want all that sugar to dissolve. All right. Stir this. Keep stirring this every so often. And we're going to bring this back up to a rolling boil. And remember, if you follow me for any time, a rolling boil is when it cannot be stirred down. So when you're stirring, it's still boiling while you're stirring. If you're stirring or if it's boiling and you start stirring it and it stops, it's not ready. So get this to a rolling boil. All right, you're seeing the foam starting to come up to the top. That's normal. Don't freak out. There's nothing wrong with it. It's gonna have a lot of foam at the top that we're gonna have to skim off. And now some people put butter into their jams and stuff. I don't do that. My nephew is allergic, and it's not really necessary. You don't need to put butter in it. I think it tastes just fine without butter. All the butter does is try to keep down the foam, but it's not that hard to scrape it off. So it's just starting to boil. We are gonna let this come to a full boil, and then we're gonna boil it hard for 1 minute, and we're just gonna let it continuously boil and not stir it down once it gets to that point. But we're not there yet, so let's stir it in a little bit. See all that foam? We'll skim it off here in a bit. Get all the foam, it's boiling. See if I can stir this down. See how I'm stirring and it's not going away? That's what you want. Alright. I'm going to turn this on here all the way to high, and I'm going to let this boil just like this and not touch it for 1 minute. Minutes up. I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to move this over there with some hot pads. I turn my boiling water on the back on high. It's almost ready. This is completely ready. It's hot and almost boiling. And we're going to skim off the foam and then start putting them in the jars. I'm giving it a second to let the foam settle. It's still boiling a little bit. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to pour some water. That's for me to wipe the rims. Put this over everything. Paul says it's not a necessary step. Remember, I do it just for precaution. I'm used to doing it this way. This is how I learned. And better safe than sorry, to make sure everything is clean and doesn't have anything on it to spoil your food. So this is almost done. You can see it's still boiling here in a little bit. And we're going to skim all this foam off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take the edge of, this is a plastic spoon, and I'm going to run it along the edge and take it out of there. I'm going to try to get as much foam as you can. It doesn't hurt the jars, I just don't like how the foam is like spongy, and I don't really think it's very appetizing. I mean, it tastes like the jam, but I don't like spongy jam. Just skim the top. You don't want to dig down too deep. Sometimes you'll get little bits of whatever you're canning, but it's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt it. I'm going to scrape the sides too, because I don't like that foam. Okay, I'm done scraping the foam off. This is already boiling. I'm going to turn it down just a tad so I can take the jars out. Get your jar lifter. Remember, do this over the pot. I've burned myself before and it hurts like a mother. So I'm just going to do one jar to show you. And then I'll start doing more than one jar. So get your funnel. And on these we're going to leave 1/4 inch headspace. Make sure you have a headspace tool for this. Let's see if that's enough. Nope, I'm going to leave a little bit more. Give it a second. Let's pull that headspace tool out of there. It's hot. I might need a little bit more looking at it. Let's see. Alright, so remember, on your tool, it's like little stairs. And it says 1 inch, 3/4, 1/2, and 1/4. This bottom one right here is 1/4. So we need to make sure, and it's literally almost touching it. So this is good. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a clean rag. I have a little cotton towel that I got from Rural King. I had a pack of them. Dip it in the hot water. Ooh. What you're going to do, you don't really need to debubble this because it filled the bottom. If you're worried about it, you can tap it or run. The debubbling tool has another part that mine broke off, but you don't really have to do it. It's not necessary on these. Make sure you wipe the rim. Always wipe your rim. If you have to, turn it inside out and do it again. Okay? And get a lid. If mine would come apart. They want to stick together. There we go. I'm doing this one-handed, sorry guys. Fit it on top. Get a ring. Put it on. Remember, fingertip tight. You don't want to wrench this down. So when you put it on, you start feeling resistance. Let's see. See, there's the resistance. Stop right there. You don't want to tighten it anymore. And then we're going to take our jar lifter. And I'm going to grab it and we're going to put it right back in. Now, some people bring up this entire thing. I don't, because it's just another reason for me to burn myself. And I don't need another reason. So keep going. Same thing. Remember, each jar, wipe the rim after you fill it. Fingertip tight. Get them all in there and I'll be back. Alright, I want to show you something. Because I went over on this one. It's over 1/4 inch. You can get a spoon and just barely take any out if you go over. It's not a big deal. There, that's better. Then wipe the rim. I got 8 jars. 8 jars. I turn it back up to high. Full blast. Put your lid on. And we are going to wait for this to come to a full boil inside before we start our timer. So once this is at a full boil, we're going to start our timer for 5 minutes. And we're going to let it cook for 5 minutes, then turn it off. And we're going to leave it in there for an additional 5 minutes before we open the lid. Guys, we're going to check. See how it's boiling? Alright. We're going to set our timer. 5 minutes. The timer went off. Careful. Keep your face away from it unless you want a facial. There's the jars. I let them sit for 5 minutes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my jar lifters and I'm going to bring my jars and I'm going to take them over there by my coffee maker, which in my case is a tea maker. Now some people said, oh, you're not supposed to walk that far. It really does not matter. I don't know why people nitpick at things. But if you feel better about putting the jars down on a dish towel, you can. I'm going to put it straight onto the tile over there. Never had a problem, never had a jar break. So it's up to you. Do what you want to do. Now remember, pick them straight out. Do not tip your jars. Okay? So we're going to take them and put them straight over. That water will evaporate off. It will come off. So don't worry about it. So let's go over here. I'm going to put it right here. Now remember, wherever you put your jars, leave them there. You're going to leave them there until the next morning. I'm doing this in the afternoon, so tomorrow I will take the bands off and check the seals. But until then, don't disturb them. Leave them alone. I'm going to get the rest of the jars. Leave the jars there. Some have already started popping, and I can hear them sucking, the seal sucking down. It's actually a beautiful jam. And trust me, if you love kiwi, you will love this jam. It's delicious. I'll see you tomorrow when I take the bands off. All right, it's the next day. I took all the bands off. You need to take all the bands off and check your seals. By checking your seals, all you have to do is take the top and pull on it and tug and see if it's sealed properly, it will stay down. If not, it will come off, and you need to stick it in the refrigerator immediately. But just check all your seals and then label and date them. See you next time, guys. I snuck a piece of toast with the kiwi jam. Don't tell my kids.